And good afternoon, everyone. I do believe we are live on TTG's Facebook page. Welcome. It's the latest edition of TTG's 1 Week at a Time. It's, as you all know, it's our weekly catch up with Deben Travel in Woodbridge, who were named the UK and Ireland's #1 agency during TTG Top 50 2020. As eagle-eyed viewers and regular viewers will see this week, I'm delighted to be joined by Deben Travel's assistant manager, Abi Nunn, as Lee's taken some time off. Abi, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good, thank you, Tom. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll try and live up to Lee's very high specifications, but yeah, it's nice to be here. Thank you.
No, it's a pleasure to have you. You sort of step into Lee's shoes for the day. It's fantastic, and he's taken a bit of time off, well needed and sort of much deserved. It sounds.
I think so, yeah. He's taken the week off and spending some time with his boys, and not the usual holiday that he would normally take, Tom, actually. Today he's gone rock climbing, but I can confirm it's not a real rock. It would be a plastic rock at Clip and Climb, and he's probably more likely to be having a cup of coffee than he is to be climbing anything. Apparently the harnesses are way too uncomfortable. And then skiing later in the week. Hemel Hempstead Snowdome. So yeah, it's a little bit different, but yeah, I think he needs to have a bit of a rest, recuperation, switch off, and come back with his pearls of wisdom for us next week.
Fantastic. He seems to be sort of mixing it up and getting out there and getting active and sort of taking his mind off everything over the last few weeks, which is good. So Abi, I thought it'd be a good idea perhaps if you'd like to introduce sort of yourself and sort of speak a bit about your history with the business. I know you and Deben and Lee and everyone sort of go way back, don't you? That's right.
Yeah, we do. So I've known nothing else really but travel, and started when I was 16. So left school at 15, straight to work at 16 for Poly, and stayed there with them for 7 years actually. So that's a brilliant start, isn't it? As many people watching will know, when you go to a company like that, the YTS scheme as it was then. So really showing my age here. But yeah, they're just brilliant. All the training, all the experience that you get. Which is where I met Lee first of all, actually, because he came then to be an apprentice, and I'd worked my way up to assistant manager at that point. Also working with my colleague Simon, who again we work with now. So yeah, many years ago. And after sort of 7 years there, I thought, I don't know if I want to change from the direct selling, just pushing one product. I wanted the challenge of putting together trips and more tailor-made long haul travel. And had quite a lengthy career with Fred Olsen. So again, another sort of local company. So yeah, brilliant. I went off to be cabin crew for Virgin Atlantic. Always wanted to do that, but only wanted to wear for Virgin. Very lucky to be able to do that. So yeah, that was great. Got to travel the world a bit, did that for 3 years. Came back, I've done a couple of other things that weren't travel related. But you always come back to travel. It's something that you have a passion to do. It's in your heart to do. I was working actually as crew for Etihad out in Abu Dhabi, and wasn't particularly enjoying it. Sort of very different experience there. And a friend of mine said, I've heard that there's an independent travel agency. They're going to open in Woodbridge. And I was thinking, this sounds good. And do you know where I saw the advert? It was on Gumtree. Why Lee put it on Gumtree, I have no idea. I should ask him more about that, really. So it didn't have any names or anything, and I sent a message through that, and then Lee came back to me and he said, if you're the Abi that I think you are, then yeah, we need to have a chat. Do you remember me? Blah blah blah. And it had been over 10 years I hadn't seen him, and then kind of the rest is history. So I've been with Deben Travel from the start. Seeing lots of changes, seeing the business grow from literally nothing, no customer database, to what it is now. We might be taking a big backward step, but yeah, I mean, to be part of such a successful business is just brilliant. And the team that we work with, I love it. I love my job, as do all of us in travel. And that's why this whole situation is just so sad, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's fantastic, that sort of history of, and you guys are so close, and there's so much history in the company there. So kind of how have these last sort of five odd months been? You're such a close team, it's such a sort of close-knit family. What kind of impact has that had on you guys personally and professionally?
Definitely. I think, like many companies, and people watching this will feel the same, one day we're at work and everything's fine and we're doing our usual routines and we've got lots of customers. and everything's fine. And then it's like, all of a sudden, it's like a switch, isn't it? A switch went off, and it was like, what is going on? And it was country after country that was closing down. And I know Leah said this before, but it was just disbelief, really. This cannot be happening. And I think from going from working with the team, and we are a close team, like you said, and we socialise together, we see each other all the time, we know everything there is to know about each other, which we're very lucky to have that relationship. And then all of a sudden it was like, the shop's closing. You know, we've never shut the shop. Lisa often joked when things have gone wrong in the past, shut the shop, you know, and this was actually happening. We couldn't believe it. And then we're working from home and we're isolated. We're at home. We don't have our usual surroundings. You know, we're trying to keep in touch on Zoom calls like this, and keep on top of everything, as well as sort of keeping our customers involved. And it was, I would say, scary, you know, because none of us had experienced anything like that before. And mentally, I think you know, it's work, and it's a big part of your life. It's not just work, is it? It is what you do day in, day out, and you've got all of that going on, plus other issues at home that might be happening. And just being out of your comfort zone of the office environment, for me personally, I found that very hard. It just doesn't seem right, does it? If you're sitting at your dining room table and you're trying to explain to someone about their refund, or tell someone that their trip's been cancelled, and it just didn't feel right. And yeah, very hard. And I know, sort of speaking to the other team members, they've all felt the same. And now none of us anticipated this going on for so long. I do remember when we first went into lockdown and we closed the office, and Lee was saying, I don't have much food in my cupboard. And we were saying, Lee, I think, you know, you need to go shopping. This is actually going to be quite serious. And he was like, no, you know, 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be back to normal. And then as time went on, I think that the realisation hit, didn't it, that actually this is serious, this is going to have a massive impact. And you feel kind of helpless in a way, because when you work as part of a close team, you're there for each other. I like to think I'm quite approachable, and if there's a problem, people come to me and I can generally fix it. You know, nothing's so much of a drama that it can't be fixed. And I'm always saying, you know, come to me and tell me. If you don't tell me, I can't help you. No one could help, could they? You know, whatever you try to do with all the will in the world, we can't make the situation any better. So yeah, I would just say, you know, it's just a very sad and scary time, really, for sort of everyone. And being in travel a long time, I've seen some, you know, horrific disasters and collapses of tour operators, and a lot of these things have an end date to them, don't they? So we know that we're going to come through the other end, albeit in a month or 2 weeks or however long. This has no end date on it, so I think, again, that's especially yeah, you know, very worrying, isn't it, for everybody, really. We don't really know what's going to happen, and how, if there's anything we can do to make it any better.
Yeah, and all the way sort of from throughout the start of the pandemic to now, into this week, which has sort of, as we'll talk about, the map behind you, which does kind of show how things have got, which it's, as people might have seen this morning, you know, TTG has launched our Safe Travel Week. So it's a week of different actions, sort of different ways to raise awareness, ways to contact your MP, ways to get signatures for our letter for sector support from the government. Yeah, I was going to say, as a way of sort of visualising the impact on agencies and on travel companies, Abi, the map that you've got behind there in the cruise store, Cruise Ready in Woodbridge. Yeah, can you sort of talk us through that? I think it sort of speaks for itself in a way, doesn't it? And how things are going.
Yeah. We thought it would be a good way to illustrate, you know, how tragic this situation is, really. And I think a lot of us, myself included, sometimes you don't actually sit and think of the bigger impact. This is worldwide, isn't it? This is every single country. Everybody in the world is affected by this in some way. And my colleague Ella, she on Saturday spent her time doing this, bless her, and she's basically put, you know, closed signs over the majority of the world that we cannot travel to. And, you know, that has just never happened before. You can't see it, actually, I don't think, on your screen there, but in the UK, just above Woodbridge is both of our offices that do say open. So we're open for business, but the rest of the world is closed. But yeah, when you actually look at it like that, it really does sort of hit home, doesn't it, how drastic this situation is, really.
Yeah, and are you hoping, I know that the cruise store has been closed every Monday for the last few weeks, but are you hoping that when customers do get a chance to see it perhaps later this week, you'll be able to sort of show that real visual impact, and what kind of impact are you hoping it has on them, that they're more understanding of the plight of the travel industry perhaps?
Yeah, I think people need the understanding. I think that's the key word, Tom. People don't really understand. And I know there's lots of talk around the government not really understanding, and that's the same thing. But I think in general, you know, you don't, and to a certain extent, maybe yourself, until you actually sit and think about the bigger picture, it's very difficult to take it in. So I know that Ella shared a video of her walking into the store and filming the map, and she put that out on social media this morning, and that's been quite well received. But yeah, I think it won't hurt just to bring to people's attention that it's not just us. And we've found, you know, in some cases with the dreaded refunds, that some customers, you know, they think it's just them, don't they? You know, they think they're the only ones that are waiting for their money to come back. And yeah, people just need a greater understanding, I think, of how the industry works and how much of an effect this will have on, you know, everybody really across the world. So yeah, so it's very good. So Noella done very well with that. Yeah, very impressed with that.
That's good stuff. Hopefully that'll sort of be able to get that such important, vital message across to everyone, to sort of, yeah, to government, to consumers, and yeah, that's really good stuff. And in terms of the week just gone, I know I sort of always ask Lee that sort of impossible question to sort of sum things up. But yeah, how has it sort of been, Abby? Would you say, in terms of sort of sales and customers, and yeah, kind of how is it all?
I mean, with sales, it is a disaster. We did one booking last week, Tom, and I remember last August for us wasn't a particularly great month, and it generally isn't because of school holidays and, you know, people have already booked to go away, or we have a lot of tourists in the town in Woodbridge, not necessarily locals. So it wasn't a particularly great week, but like for like, last August, we did 25 bookings. We did one. And funnily enough, that booking was for someone that knows us very well. She's a BDM for a company that lives locally and wanted to give us the business, which is brilliant. And but yeah, it's on Saturday we were in, and the phone did not ring once. We had no email inquiries, you know, and on a Saturday it's just pretty much unheard of. But on a positive note, we had lots of customers coming in. Regular customers, a couple popped in, massive boxes of chocolates for us because they finally got their refund. That was a case where initially we thought they weren't going to have a refund, but we persisted with it, and you know, and they've got it. And people are so appreciative, and you know, and they were one of the ones that said, as soon as we're able to book, when we've got the confidence to book, we'll book 3 holidays, one after the other. And then there was 2 other regular customers that I see sort of all the time. They popped in, oh, how are you? You know, how are you doing? This must be horrendous. We haven't forgotten about you. You know, we will be back. And that is so positive to see, and it does make you feel better. You know, and the key thing there, I think, is how are you? You know, and I was going to talk about that a bit later on, with actually asking how people are, because unless you ask them, we don't know, do we? And it's nice that some people do ask, how are you doing? And this must be horrendous. And how are you doing as personally and as a business? And, you know, are you going to be okay? And yeah, just having those sort of conversations really. But it is positive. And the majority of people that are coming in are just telling us that they want to, you know, give us their money, but just not right now. You know, there is no confidence there. I think that's the thing. No confidence for the consumer to make any commitment.
Yeah, it sounds like such a roller coaster to be on, because you said, you know, for the phone not to ring and for emails not to come in on a Saturday, where you think people would really be getting in there, to then have, you know, loyal customers coming and giving you know, sweets and everything, and saying, look, you know, we will book when the time's right. How does it feel to kind of balance those emotions? Is there a heck of a lot of up and down, and do you have to kind of get some sort of level of normality among that? It must be difficult.
You do, yeah. We've kind of had to adapt to the situation that we're in, and try and remain positive, but it's really hard. Because at the moment you can't see. I know Lee always goes on about the lights at the end of his tunnels. He had 2 last week, didn't
yes,
he?
Yes.
But it is like that, and I think, as I mentioned previously, other disasters, if you like, have an end date on them. You know, this doesn't, and it's great that customers are saying, when I've got confidence to book, I will, but when will that be? Will it be when a vaccine becomes available? You know, we just don't know. We're lucky that a lot of our customers have already retired, perhaps do have some funds available to travel sort of at the drop of a hat, and they're quite happy to book, you know, pretty expensive holidays. But there'll be the other sort of perhaps younger couples where jobs may be in jeopardy, and people can't commit, you know, can they? That is the problem. We had a lady on Saturday, regular customer of ours, bless her, she's been waiting for a refund since March. Eventually Saturday we could give the money back to her. She didn't want me to give the money back to her. She was adamant Lee could put it in a pot. And I said, well, we don't just have a pot of money we can kind of hold on to, we'll need to give it back to you. And then by all means come back and spend it with us. And she wouldn't have it, she wouldn't give me her bank details. And, you know, it was quite comical, bless her, but she wanted us to have that money to hold on to. She's like, it might help you, you know, in the interim to get through, but it's £750, so really going to go that far. And in the end she was like, well, where's Lee? And I said, oh, he's having a few days off. And she said, oh, well, I'll take it and I'll bring it in an envelope in cash and I'll give it back to Lee. So, you know, when you hear things like that, you know, that was quite comical, but it's encouraging. People do still want to travel, I think, but it's just that they can't commit and they don't have confidence to at the moment. But we need more people like Judith wanting to put money in our pot, really, don't we?
Yeah, she sounds like a really sort of lovely and endearing story, that is. Yeah, that's great. And I suppose there are some sort of signs of normality. And we were sort of speaking just before we came on air about that you had your first visit from a business development manager and sort of on the road. And how was that? Because, you know, people have said that, you know, there's going to be no on the road people now. It's all going to be Zoom and it's all going to be this. But how was it? I imagine it was in store, and kind of how did it go?
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant. It was Karen from Premier Holidays, Karen Millward, who we have a really good relationship with anyway. I think people underestimate the value of an account manager or a BDM coming out actually to physically see us. We at Deben Travel have always welcomed people in. So whether they have an appointment to see us or not, even when we've been really busy, we've said, yeah, pop in, you know, leave us your details. Thanks for making the effort. We are out on a limb a bit here, so we do appreciate it when people make the effort to come in. I mean, it was just brilliant, and it's so nice. That felt normal. Albeit we're chatting and we've got face masks on, screens up and things like that. But for us, I think, you know, having a BDM come out and see you, it makes you feel appreciated, keeps you up to date with everything. We do bookings on the back of the offers that they tell us about. Sometimes they'll happen to mention something and you'll have completely forgot that tour operator can offer that, or maybe a different way of doing things. You know, I think that we've had close communications throughout lockdown with Karen and Carly from Premier, Amy from Kuoni, Dom from If Only, Bryony from Jet2 Holidays. We had a massive amount of Jet2 holiday, you know, bookings. They're not people that we would want to go to with all of our problems, albeit it is brilliant to have a contact, because if they can't help you, they'll know who can. And we would use them as a last resort for problem solving. But yeah, it was just so nice to have that contact, and even throughout lockdown, just an email or knowing that we've got their mobile phone number. I think it's sad if companies make the decision that the people on the road are the first to go. To me, doesn't make too much sense. I don't know what other people's opinions are. Maybe it'd be interesting to see, you know, what other agents think. I know some agents don't always welcome people in or have the time, and home workers must be difficult to sort of get those relationships and communications going on. But no, I mean, you know, it's been great. And I know with Premier, they've sent through some brilliant offers we've put on Facebook, which saves us trying to look for them, you know, and you've got that communication and contact there. So for me, they're, you know, they're just brilliant. I can't imagine if we didn't have those representatives coming in. And like I mentioned before, our one booking of the week was from a BDM that lives locally to us. And, you know, she could have booked elsewhere, she could have booked direct, but she wanted to use an agent and wanted to use us. And yeah, that was just brilliant, you know, so that relationship does work both ways. And I think they're good as well at it. If they have sort of friends or family that say, oh, you know, do you know a good agent in my area? You know, it's always good to have that personal recommendation. So yeah, so that was great to see.
That's a great point there, Abby, about in terms of how you know, how companies are going to sort of build back from this if they do make cuts in their on the road teams and their BDM teams. Yeah, as a successful, you know, independent agency, are you sort of worried about how that might affect your relationships maybe with the companies going forward? Do you think it'll be harder for them to regrow business if they do sort of make those cuts? Of course, obviously, a lot of companies are under a lot of pressure and they need to make sure, but it's unfortunate, isn't it?
It is unfortunate, and I do understand, you know, costs are going to have to be cut somewhere, but I think it's building relationships. I always think of it that we build relationships with our customers, and that's why they come back to us, isn't it? because they trust us, you know, that they know that we're going to give them the best deal that we can, we're going to be there for them, giving them the advice that they need. And it's the same with the BDMs. You know, if you build up a relationship with them, you know, and you trust what they're saying, and that you're going to get that back up when you do eventually make the bookings. And we have a couple of companies that we have key account contacts with, and again, that works brilliantly for us. And in fact, one of those I have been on a fam trip with, and it was so nice to meet them, you know, face to face, and you know that you can call them, and they're going to help you and give you that absolute best service. And we, because of the way we deal with our customers and giving them the ultimate customer service, we like to think, you know, we expect that back from a tour operator, because we are their customers, aren't we? So yeah, I do think it's a bit rash if they do make, you know, let too many people go now.
Yeah,
might regret that.
And as sort of another development for Deben, I suppose, you know, beside all the doom and gloom, you've actually sort of been expanding your team. You've got a new member of the team who's dealing with sort of social and tech side of things, haven't you? I believe your nephew, Abi, is that right to say?
We have, and this came about, you know, whilst you've got time on your hands and it is all doom and gloom, you need to think about new ways of reaching out to customers. And we revamped our website actually just before lockdown, so kind of January, February time. And that was working really well for us. People were doing more inquiries online and sending us the inquiry forms through, and net effects with the late cards, offers were coming up. And we thought, actually, you know, we do need to get a bit more savvy with this. Prior to that, we never really had the time, and we don't have the know-how. So Lee thought it would be good to get on YouTube and try and reach a younger demographic. So a couple of our girls who are brilliant and put something together. And I knew my nephew was on YouTube all the time, as they are. He's just turned 12. So I said, oh, Leland, can you subscribe to Travel Deben? And he did, and he sent me a message, and he said, I'm always here, you know, if you need help with editing, which I translated to mean, this doesn't look very good. So I said to Lee, oh, Leland's offered to do some stuff for us. And yeah, bless him, he's put together some really good like montages and videos. He didn't want to leave Cruise Ready out, so he did a trailer for them. And 2 of their fan trips are now being displayed on their TV screen in the window here. So they go on a loop so that customers can actually stand and watch them. So he's our new creative consultant. He said, we need to get a ring light, a green screen, clip-on microphones, I can film you, all these great ideas. And I said, oh, you know, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you Lee's number. You just correspond with him, you know, you chat with him. And yeah, so all the stuff is being delivered. We've had the majority of it through, and I think the green screen's coming this afternoon. So yeah, watch this space. It's going to be great, I think, to talk about, bring to life our fan trips that we've been on. You know, when you look back at some of the amazing places that we've been, having the green screen, it'll be like the weather, won't it, where you're pointing to all the different destinations, and it will kind of bring it to life. And then moving forward, we want to use YouTube to put together like travel tips. Myself and Rebecca, we've both been cabin crew. You know, there's a lot of knowledge there. Lee's been ski guide. Tessa is a Disney expert. So there's so much more that we could do to be a bit more, you know, interactive. And people, I think at the moment, we've noticed on Facebook, our engagement levels are just gone crazy. Because people are at home, aren't they? And the majority of their time is spent on the internet. So yeah, so we've always kind of, social media has always not been our priority. But now, yeah, that's definitely something that we are getting into. So yeah, fingers crossed it'll attract some more customers.
Fantastic. Does that just go to show, do you think, that despite everything that's going on, if you can develop new ideas and new projects, then to use this time, I suppose, to do that, and that's what you guys have done?
For sure, yeah. And then the people that, you know, our team members that are still at home, they've really made a conscious effort to join webinars, to do lots of online training that maybe before they wouldn't have had time for, just refreshing our knowledge on, you know, on lots of other things. So yeah, you know, you do have to take some positives out of it, don't you, and use your time in slightly different ways. But yeah, we'll watch this space for our creative consultant and see what else he can come up with.
Fantastic. He seems to have a swift rise up the ranks, hopefully there.
Yeah,
if he's doing well.
Quick promotion, wasn't it? Quick promotion for him.
It's quite quite the title there, but no, that's fantastic. And yeah, and talking about social media. In fact, this is the start of Safe Travel Week. You know, kind of what kind of things are you guys putting in place, and you know, contacting sort of your MP and getting out to customers with that, and the video. I imagine you just hope the video is sort of showing just the real state of trouble in the industry. You sort of hope that resonates with sort of customers and the guys on your social media.
Yeah, for sure. So we put the video out today because we thought that's a good way of launching it. And then I suggested that every day this week, each member of the team, we will put out on Facebook a travel memory or something that means something to us, whether it be a holiday, a fan trip, just a destination that we went to. Because I think, you know, we're talking about saving travel and what does that mean? And I think travel means different things to different people, but normally it's the memories, isn't it? And it's something that you did with a certain person. It was a place that you went. You know, it's grandparents perhaps wanting to take all of their family away to make these special memories. And yeah, it's just something to think about. So we've put together, Simone was the first one that we launched today, and her special place was Madeira. So yes, if you go on our Facebook page, you'll see that. So we're doing that throughout the week. We have written to our local MP, and actually I was listening to your chat earlier with Sophie, with the guy there who said that you need to do both MPs if you don't live in the constituency of your business. So we were like, oh, okay, so we've covered all angles on that now. So that's already been sent. Thursday, we send our weekly newsletter that I know Lee has mentioned before, and on there we've put all the links to it. And just basically, you know, I've said to our customers, are you as passionate about travel as we are? If so, something needs to be done, and trying to explain for why, because all they'll say is all safe travel, you know, what does that mean? But you need to educate people and tell them, don't you, you know, the bigger picture. So yeah, so hopefully we'll get the message out there. And I know Friday is sort of bringing to attention mental health, which is something that sort of Lee has spoken about before, and we briefly did earlier. Yeah. And I think, you know, you need to ask people how they are when we're ringing tour operators, and you know, I always say, oh, how are you? You know, and they're not fine, are they? There's no good saying you're fine, because none of us are. And we speak to a lot of tour operators, the same reservations people at the same time. And again, they've basically been put in isolation. They've been taken out of their office. They're sitting at home, don't have the camaraderie, you know, of a team. You know, and they're thinking, here we go again, and probably not making too many new bookings. It's all administration, and sometimes we want to ring and we're very frustrated. Maybe we're waiting for refund for 6 months. That's not their fault, is it? So we have to be very conscious, I think, about the way we speak to our colleagues across the board, really, you know, tour operators, other agents. I know that Lee is going to meet up with someone from Fred Olsen next week and just catch up and sort of have a coffee with Paul. And, you know, we've met on sort of many a fancy TTG party and things like that. But it's nice as well to get other people's input and basically see how it's going for other people, isn't it? On a personal level and a business. We all know what state the business is in, don't we? But it's more about how people are coping with it, I think. So yeah, so, you know, a busy week in that respect, but we will be all over our socials with it. And yeah, fingers crossed, the more people that get behind it, we can actually make a change.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. It sounds like you guys are getting behind it so much and really getting stuck in. And I love the fact that Paul and Lee are meeting up, because you said, you know, it's business and but it is personal, and the two kind of combine so much, don't they? Especially for independent businesses and for people in travel, because for many things, you know, your company and your agency is very much your life, isn't it? So that's fantastic. Yeah, and I just wanted to sort of finish by sort of asking you what your sort of hopes were for the rest of the year. Really, it's sort of a high convoluted question a little bit with everything that's going on. But what you kind of hope for? You know, things to improve, I imagine, and probably less closed signs to come off that map, perhaps.
Yeah, we need more certainty, don't we, and more clarity and more consumer confidence. But I was chatting with the rest of the team this morning, just in general, and we were sort of saying, you know, where do we go from here? What is going to happen? But we said we have to think positive. We have to think that those customers are going to come rushing back in, and all those guys that came in on Saturday are going to book 3 holidays you know, at the same time. And I think you know, and it can happen, and I think it will. And I think there'll be consumers are going to go to travel agents, aren't they? We're going to be the best thing since sliced bread after all of this. But it's just getting that confidence back into books. So yeah, I'm positive about it. And I think, you know, there's going to be many people that are listening and watching that are thinking, I just don't know if that's going to happen for me. But what you have to remember is this is nobody can do anything other than what they're doing at the moment. And we have to just take it day by day, and, you know, and just do the absolute best we can. But nobody could do any better, could they, at the moment? Because nobody could have predicted how awful it was going to be. So, but yeah, positive thinking is what we need.
Very much so. Yeah, there's so much positive thinking there, isn't it? Yeah, to get us through. But Abi, just thank you so much for sort of incredibly ably stepping into Lee's shoes there, and yeah, sort of guiding the good ship, sort of Deben Travel through this conversation. It's been fantastic. I hope everyone's enjoyed the conversation today. This is actually the penultimate episode of 1 week at a time. It's been a fantastic. Hopefully, you know, we haven't sort of nagged Deben and Lee and yourself having too much over the last sort of around 10 episodes. It's been quite a fantastic
it's been great, hasn't it? Yeah, no, I think we've got a lot out of it as well, and it's nice to then get feedback and hear other people's sort of views and opinions. And no, it's been really good. Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah, it's been quite the journey we sort of have been on since we sort of took you guys on with 1 week at a time. But yes, so we'll be back with Lee next week, and then we'll sort of be finishing up. The bank holiday will come, and then we'll have something a little different, a little sort of bit of a change up after that, which I'm sure you guys will be a part of as well. So thanks very much for joining me, Abi. Thank you to everyone for watching us today. It's always a pleasure. Hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, we'll see sort of Deben and Lee next week. Thanks very much for joining me, Abi. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.